Okay, cool. You probably appreciate this, setting up the shot. It is like a selfie camera. So I would love to hear from you a little bit about your project that you did with At&T Hello Lab.
Absolutely. So I wrote and directed a project called Your Name Isn't English, which is about my personal experiences of riding in Lyft and Uber cars and having a name that is not English and having these interesting conversations that come up around not knowing who Native people are or having weird stereotypes about us. And so I found myself over the years sort of giving these free history lessons from the back seat, and so turned that into a short based off of a poem that I wrote. And so it's been a really cool experience, and I think that it's going to be something great that is going to help educate kind of everybody a little bit more about a shared history that we all have here in America.
I love that you mentioned it was based on a poem. I just devour poetry so much. Like, I love it. Like, but it's very unique to get to have a poem be something that's turned into a project. You hear of like shorts, and screenplays and things like that. But what was it like for you that you drew inspiration from poetry towards making that come to life on screen?
So I am primarily a poet, a writer and a poet, and so this was a poem that I wrote probably 2 years ago and had performed several times. And I knew that I always wanted a visual component with it. I felt like it was not going to live or do its justice by only being spoken, and so I converted that poem into a script and was able to turn that over into a visual story that I think it still maintains some of the poem in it. I mean, I had to take a lot of that poem away, but there was things that we were able to keep very, very poetically strong in it.
What do you feel like you hope people's biggest takeaway from it is? Because I know that you mentioned that there's history lessons involved, which is actually really cool, because if you're able to have a social message as well attached, if you could speak to that.
So I think my biggest takeaway from this film is that Native people are here, and I think that it's interesting that in 2018 people in America don't think that we exist, and I think that in order for any country or any people to move forward, you have to be very rooted in what your history is, and we are a part of that history. We're the first people of this nation, and it is Native American Heritage Month right now, so it's kind of appropriate.
I like that.
It premiered today. The biggest takeaway, though, is that there's a lot of weight in names, and I think that when we introduce ourselves to people, that there's a whole shared history of people that come together to name this person, and it's whether that's a Native name or somebody else, but you never really know who people are. And I think that we all have these really complex histories behind us that we should be proud of based on our names.
I love that so much. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see it.
Thank you so much.